Hi and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today in the Get Carter webinar. My name is Gabriel Hidalgo and I am the Relationship Manager for Northwest Federal Credit Union Select Employee Group. We really want to thank our panelists, Heather Devers, AVP of Credit Card Operations for Northwest Federal Credit Union, and Amy Cardona, our partner from Equifax, to be able to join us and present some valuable information to you all. I want to start by just giving some housekeeping rules. We will have an option for questions or Q&A at the end of the presentation. I will also mention that this presentation will be recorded and we will be able to share with all of attendees after if you request to do so. That being said, I want to be respectful for everybody's time. It is 12:01, so we'll just get started. I'll start by saying that the reason that we're conducting this webinar is because it is part of our financial wellness series. And financial wellness means to have control and better understanding of your day-to-day finances. We know that when used responsibly, credit cards can help you improve your money management, build and improve your credit, and are powerful financial tools. They also allow us to pay for expenses that we need without having to carry around cash. They also make it less stressful to pay for emergency expenses. With that being said, I will turn it over to Amy Cardona, our partner from Equifax.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to be a part of this webinar and this financial wellness to help people understand how credit cards can help them build their credit history. I'm hoping that the information I provide today will help people who are new to credit, also those who have had credit in a long time, because there may be some information that they're not familiar with. If you are new to credit cards or new to credit in general, maybe, I've got a daughter who recently turned 18, so would be a great person for this webinar. One of the things that you should consider is a secured credit card. It's a great way to start your credit history because it's something that Heather will go over later that makes it a little bit easier to get that approval up and running and get you started building your credit. Now, when you do get your first credit card, or if you have one now, as you build your credit card history, it's important to use the card regularly. There's something called the date of last activity that posts to your credit file. That ensures that it updates every month and it continues to help your FICO score. It improves that FICO score or impacts the FICO score in some way. Only buy items that you can pay each month. You want to pay the entire balance whenever you can and pay it by the actual date the bill is due. The balance on your credit card and the payment history is a big part of that impacts your FICO score. We'll talk about that more in a couple of slides. So it's something to keep in mind as you use your card. Now, the payment history does make up the largest chunk of your credit score. 65% of your FICO score comes the amount of debt you have, which is basically the balances on your loans and your credit cards, and then your payment history. The way that 65% breaks down is that 35% is paying your bills on time, and the remaining 30% is the balances. So it's important that you keep your credit card from being maxed out every month if possible. And it's also really important that you pay it on time every month. One of the easiest ways to do that is to set up for automatic payments. That way it just automatically drafts either through online bill pay or just through the actual credit card website or the app that you have. It'll just automatically draw from your bank accounts. That way you don't ever miss a payment. Now, before you apply for a credit card, it's important that you ask yourself how you're planning on using it. Every time you apply for a credit card, any inquiry that hits your credit file for a credit card application does impact your FICO score. So do the research in advance rather than just continually applying to see what you get approved for, because in the long run, that's going to hurt you more than it'll help you. Now, when you do start doing that research, ask yourself a few questions. What are you going to use the credit card for? Are you going to use it every day for, pizza, for gas, for, whatever, things you have, so that you don't have to, as Gabriel mentioned, you don't have to carry cash with you? Or is it something that's just for emergencies? I had a tree fall in my house earlier last year due to a storm. And so having a credit card that we just kept for emergencies was a great way to make sure that we could afford to get everything fixed as quickly as possible, but pay it off over time. And with those two questions, are you going to use it for daily or emergencies? Are you going to pay the balance off every month, or is it something that you may have to carry a portion of the balance from one month to the next? The reason those questions are important is that it tells you whether you want to look for a card with a low interest rate or possibly like a points or rewards card. So understanding how you're going to use the credit will help drive you to get the right type of card that makes the most sense for you. Now, if you, as I mentioned, if you're planning on carrying a balance from month to month, say it's that card that's for emergencies, you want to make sure that the credit card you choose has a low interest rate, because it means you pay less over time as you pay off that debt, and then also a long grace period. A lot of people don't know what a grace period is. The grace period is the time between when the credit card billing cycle ends, so the day the bill is basically issued and when the payment is due. Legally, there has to be at least 21 days between those two, but the longer the grace period is, the more time it gives you to budget and make sure you have enough money to make those payments based on the balance that carried over from the previous month. I did mention previously that the balance impacts your FICO score. Keep in mind, it's okay to keep a balance. If you have a credit card for emergencies and it's got a balance on it, that's not going to destroy your credit. The key that most lenders go by is that you want to have a balance of 30 to 50% of your credit limit. So it's okay to carry a balance from one month to the next. It's just important that you make the payments and show that you're bringing that balance down over time rather than keeping it maxed out month after month. Now, another set of questions. Do you plan to use the card frequently? Like I said, is it going to be for daily expenses? If you're going to use it every day for, gas, for minor charges here and there, whether you go to the grocery store or to 7-Eleven down the street or Starbucks or whatever, you might want to consider a cash or a rewards credit card. You want to look carefully at the rewards that are offered to make sure that it makes sense for how you're going to use it. I'm a big fan of Universal Studios. It would not make sense for me to get a credit card that lets me get Disney points because I don't go to Disney World, I go to Universal Studios. So make sure that the rewards card that you have lines up with your goals and with things that will actually benefit from you and that you'll use. Now, once you actually start shopping for the card, as I said, it's important for you to comparison shop. Go online, do some research, read the fine print, look at the details. You want to understand the interest rate, you want to understand the payment terms, and apply for the card that's best for you when you get to that application rather than just applying for everything as you go. Now, when you do look at those different cards, there's a few things that you want to look closely at. One is the annual percentage rate. You want to check to see if there's an annual fee or any other fees that are in there, whether there's an invoice fee or a late payment fee. Any of that stuff is very important to understand before you apply. And then the other piece is if you're looking at the rewards, what other benefits do you have for the card usage? When looking at the APR, there's a couple of important questions you want to understand. One is, does the card have a non-variable or a variable rate? Sometimes the non-variable is also known as a fixed rate credit card. That means it'll have the same interest rate every month. It'll be 2%, 4%, 5%, whatever that percentage is when you apply for the card, that stays for the life of the card always. The variable rate card is subject to change monthly. The interest rate goes up and down with the stock market. So as the stock fluctuates, those interest rates can change as well. So that's part of understanding which one is best for you, because if it's one you're going to pay in full every month, the variable card rate will have a lower impact. If you're carrying a balance from month to month, the non-variable rate is a better option because that way it'll help you budget so you understand what the impact of carrying that balance is over. Now with charges and fees, you want to make sure, again, I know nobody likes to read the fine print. It's a lot easier just to click agree and sign at the bottom, but this is important. Sometimes there are hidden fees in agreements. There may be a monthly service charge. There may be a late payment fee. It's important for you to understand before you apply what sort of fees and penalties there could be. Is there a fee if you go over the credit limit? Normally the charge will be declined, but sometimes it happens. It's somehow, something doesn't fully post. You have to understand what the impacts are for those different things before you apply. Now, with that, I'd like to turn this over to Heather Devers, the AVP of Card Operations here at Northwest Federal Credit Union.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was great information. So now that you have all that information, you've start to ask yourself, where do you start? Well, a great place to start is your credit union. As we develop products and services that we know our members will use and need, we really keep the member in mind. And I'll go through a couple of those features and services with you in just a few moments. But if you're one of those folks who are looking for the next slide, I apologize, getting there, to build or rebuild your credit. So we developed something called the First Card to really support those members who are looking to do that. And with this card, we wanted to make sure that the interest rate was right for those members so that as you are using your card, you're not paying tons of interest rate charges or fees. So as Amy had just told you, there's a non-variable rate on this card, which is great. So whenever the prime index goes up and down, you never have to worry about your rate changing. It will always be the same. Also, there's no annual fee. So there's no surprises on your statement or a large fee that appears that you weren't expecting. Again, no surprises, you know kind of what you're looking at month to month. And also something that we're really proud of is when we help our members build or rebuild their credit, we want to give them the financial resources to do that and a financial education to support that wellness. So we have them go through a credit one-on-one course to really understand how powerful a credit card is as a financial tool and also understand where the pitfalls are. So making sure that we, just as Amy said, stay below that certain limit. Make sure you make your payments on time. And this is also a great card if you have a student or someone who will be going out on their own shortly. It helps them build their credit. So once they get to 18 years old, they do have a credit score and they have something that they can build on. And along that path, they're looking at a statement. They know when their next payment is due and they're making those payments. One thing also that is really great about the First Card is you can also use this as a shared secured card. So if you're concerned that you might not be approved for a traditional credit card, you can put the money aside, hold it in a savings account, and then be approved without having to go through the full approval process. So this one can start as low as $250. You can put that money on hold in your account, and then you have a credit card ready to start building your credit. The next I want to talk about is rewards. So Amy mentioned that as well. This is so important, and it's important to understand that not all rewards cards are built the same. You really want to make sure you look at the fine print. You look at what rewards you're earning and where you can earn them, if there's any additional fees. So I know with some rewards programs, you have an annual fee. Some can be as low as $50. Some can go all the way up to $500. And you have to make sure that makes sense to you, whether or not you want a fee or not. So you would look for a card that doesn't have one. Also with rewards card, because you are getting rewards back, sometimes the interest rate is a little bit higher. Again, I've seen it from 14% all the way up to a rate up in the 20s. So if you're like most people and you're using your card day to day and you might be carrying a balance, you want to make sure the interest rate makes sense, that it's not too high to where you're kind of losing the benefit of those rewards. Also, rewards restrictions. So when you look at a rewards program, you want to see how much you would earn. And what tier would you earn? Are there restrictions and caps on certain categories that you can't earn more than, say, if you're getting gas every month and you get 4 times the points for gas, but you can only buy $50 worth of gas that much and earn that rate? You want to make sure you understand where those limits are. And also a false sense of how and where you can redeem rewards. You know, there's cards out there that will offer you 4 times the points in entertainment. But if you look at the fine print, you look at where those points can be earned, it could be a record store or a video rental store. But the last time I've been to a Blockbuster was a very long time ago. So again, make sure you actually can earn the rewards that you're looking for. So we looked at all these factors and we were building our Now Rewards card and wanted to present this awesome program to our members. We wanted to make sure our fine print was not our biggest feature. We think if you go through the fine print on our card, you'll like what you see. Rewards on purchases everywhere. As long as you're not doing a cash advance or a balance transfer, you're going to get points for that purchase, and there's no caps on that, which is great. There's a low variable interest rate, which I'll go into in just a moment, and no annual fee. Again, no surprises on this card. So our card starts at 8.24%, and this is almost unheard of in the reward space. It's one of the lowest rates that I've seen. So not only are you getting awesome rewards, but you also have a very low interest rate. So if you do for some reason carry a balance every month, that's not a problem. You don't have an outrageous interest rate to worry about. And also we made it very easy, a flat 1.25% everywhere you spend. And again, no caps for every dollar. And there's also bonus points that you can earn. So a lot of bonus point programs out there, you have to log into a specific portal or you have to use or make that purchase only online. What our bonus points does is it's actually with the merchant. So on our website, if you do apply for this card or if you have this card already, you can check and see which merchants have special bonus points that month. They can range from 2 times the points to 5 times the points to 10 times the points. And sometimes they just give you a bonus points, like here's 2,000 points for spending $100 with us. So again, you don't have to log into a portal. All you have to do is swipe that card at that merchant and you're good to go. You get those bonus points. We also have a variety of ways you can redeem cashback, travel, and gift cards, and I'll go into some of those. With the Now Rewards card, you have tons of flexibility when it comes to travel. There's no blackout dates, there's no round trip flight requirement, and no Saturday night stay requirement. What is also great, when we were looking at this program, we wanted to make sure flight options. So it doesn't help if you have a rewards card and you're saving up for that flight or that special vacation, but you don't have a flight that you need. When we did some comparison, I looked at one program and I looked at a flight from Dallas to Orlando, thinking of a typical vacation. There was 2 points on that other program. When I looked at this particular program, there was 22 to 23 flights available. You're going to find something that's going to work for your travel plans, and that's really important. One last point about travel. If you like to use the online travel sites and you just find that great flight, has the time that they're leaving, the time you're getting back, it just looks perfectly for you, and you just want to go ahead and get that flight, you can do that too. You can just redeem your points for cash back and use that cash back to purchase that flight. Unlimited flexibility with travel. Cashback is also great too. It gives you that opportunity as you're building up your points to just send that cash back right to your checking or savings account. You can also do a statement credit. Very recently, when I was doing back to school shopping for my kids, I looked at the balance on my points from a Now Rewards card, and I had enough to pay off that entire purchase, which was awesome, a great way to start the year. We also have experiences. So if you wanted to go to a concert, go to a sporting event, experiences nowadays are much more important sometimes than something tangible like merchandise. We have tons of options out there. You can even take a fighter pilot lesson if you wanted to do that. You can have someone write a song for you. There's just tons and tons of options that are really fun. And also gift cards. Gift cards are really popular right now, especially with all of the online spends. Or if you're looking for a gift card for a holiday present, use your points to buy those holiday gifts every Christmas. And lastly, but of course not least, merchandise. We have tons of options out there. If there's something you're thinking about, it probably exists out there. But even if it doesn't, you can always redeem for cash and go ahead and make that purchase as well. So when we think about Now Rewards points, we launched something brand new last fall, and we call it Premier Points. We wanted to kind of level up the program for members who use Northwest Federal Credit Union as their day-to-day banking, their primary financial institution. And we call it often loyalty has its rewards. So again, if you have a Now Rewards card and you bank with us all the time, we wanted to give back to you for that. And with that, instead of 1.25 times the points, you actually get 2 times the points, which is great, with no cap, as long as you qualify for the program. You can get 2% cash back and really build up those rewards so much faster. There's a lot of ways that you can qualify. You can have a loan with us, your checking account with direct deposit, logging into online banking. All those things are great for financial wellness, keeping track of your spending, or open up an IRA savings account, put $500 in that, and again, build that really strong financial foundation. And last but not least, what do you do with the card when you now have it in hand? We wanted to make sure we solved for that problem as well. So we built in a lot of control and security in our cards. And contactless, I'm sure you've heard a lot about that these days throughout the pandemic. Well, what does that really mean? Our credit cards are contactless, meaning if you go to a merchant terminal that has a pay wave and you have never seen that before, you're not sure about that term, it's a symbol that has like 4 waves on it. If that exists, you can just wave your credit card over the terminal, never touching it, never hitting those buttons again. You can also use your card on your digital wallet. So if you have your Northwest credit card in your phone, you can also just wave your phone. Again, another contactless transaction. And what's so important that in terms of safety, again, not even just touching the terminal, but it keeps your credit card information super secure. When you use a contactless transaction, an EMV transaction, or a digital wallet transaction, you're never sharing your credit card information with that merchant. All they're getting is a one-time, one-use token that can never be used again. So if there's a breach, you hear about a breach like, oh, I used my card there recently. But if you use a contactless method, an EMV method, or a digital wallet method, they do not have your card information, which is great news. Next, we talked about how do we give control to the member? How do we allow them to set the limits on their card and determine how and when their card is used? Well, we have something called the Card Control app, and that can be used for debit or for credit. You set the terms of how, when, and where your card is used. So if for some reason you lose your card, even temporarily, you're not sure where it is, but it makes you uneasy, you can turn that card off instantly. So if someone does pick up that card and try to use it, there's not a thing they can do with it until you turn it back on. You can also set spend threshold. So whether you're budgeting every month or you just say, I usually never use my card for more than $100 a day or $200 a day, I'm gonna go ahead and set that limit. So if anyone tries to use my card for that amount, even myself, it'll be declined, and that's a great option too. We also have something called location threshold. So there's one that's really neat. If you turn this one on, unless your card is with you, if it's next to your cell phone, it will be declined. So any in-person transaction where it's not with you in your phone, that transaction will not go through. You can also set it, well, you don't travel much out of California or Virginia. You can say, well, I just wanted to work in this particular area. You can set those limits as well. So a lot of capability in your hands, allowing you to really get a good foundation of how to use your card, understand the powerful tool again that it is. And so with that, Gabe's going to go into a little bit of how the Card Control app can be downloaded. I'm going to pass it over to Gabe. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Heather, for that information. Okay, so you can actually find a Card Control app on Apple Store or Google Play, depending on the device that you use. I actually downloaded the app not that long ago, and one of the things that I really enjoy about it was the location base that Heather was mentioning earlier. It is a neat feature, especially when you don't have your phone or your debit card with you at all times. That really can be a very good feature to come across and utilize. So get your phone. If you're a member of Northwest for Credit Union, download the app. It will ask you for some information. So get your card ready, because you will need that information that it's in the card to be able to link it. One of the things that also it's cool about this is the fact that this app works for credit cards and debit cards within the Northwest platform. One of the things that I always like to tell my members and my company partners and the select employee group employees is that when you're out and about in the market trying to find best rate or best benefits out of your credit card, is utilize a comparison. Ask around. Don't settle for the first offer that you get or the first card that you review. You can always utilize our platform and check the options that you have, not only on Northwest, but the market itself. And you can do that by just going into the nwsu.org /banking/cards/credit cards link that is also showing in your screen. One great feature that we're so proud and my team members of the branches are super excited about it is when we have a member, typically the traditional banking, when you apply for a credit card, you have to wait for the card to arrive in the mail. So we understand the sense of urgency on our member base, and we implemented an option that when you either submit an application online or you come into the branch and we take your application, you have the option to request the card to be printed on site, which allows you right away start enjoying those benefits with your depending on the type of rewards that you choose, and utilize your card right away to make any type of form of payments or purchases. So if you're in the market again for a credit card, please visit any of our local branches, or you can always visit our website to do that as well. Now that we have reviewed all this information that Amy and Heather shared with us, I really want to just sum it up. And one of the few takeaways that I find very valuable are the fact that we really need to educate ourselves, educate our family members and our member base. One of the things that Northwest is very proud is the fact that we support the communities that we serve. And the way we do it is by allowing this type of webinars and educational presentations to take part. So few recommendations that we have today based on the information that Amy and Heather shared was start building a solid credit history today. Utilize your resources to compare the type of credit cards, their rates, their features, and any type of fees before applying. Always pay your bills on time to help improve your credit, even if it's the minimum payment. That really is, just like Amy shared earlier, 65% of your credit score is the combination of balances and payment history. So even if it's, as I mentioned, the minimum payment, that counts towards that. And then take advantage of any rewards and other cardholder benefits that the cards get to offer you. At this time, we will open, we will answer some of the questions that some of our attendees have sent us. Let me just check this real quick. Amy, I think I have one for you. And it is, how many points are subtracted from your credit score per credit card application?
Well, unfortunately, that's not something FICO has a set number for. What we've learned is that, unfortunately, the higher your credit score, the bigger a hit each, and they call it a credit inquiry. So anytime you apply for a loan, each inquiry has a bigger hit if you have a high credit score. So if, say, Gabriel has an 825 and he applies for Northwest credit card, he might take like a higher hit, but if I have a 450, I'm not going to get the credit card, is the reality most likely. And I can't speak for the lenders at Northwest, but with a 450, it's going to be hard for me to get approved for any type of loans because I've gotten myself in a lot of trouble from a credit perspective. So the inquiry hurts my credit less because I've got less room for it to go down. The key is that when it hits, if the account is approved, use it responsibly, pay the bills on time, and you'll actually find that your credit score recovers faster and it could be higher than it was before you had the inquiry hit.
Okay, thank you so much, Amy. Another question for you is, I noticed some companies will increase the limit on cards. Is it better to have a card that will increase my limit or better to get a separate card if I desire higher limits?
If you already have the relationship set up and they're willing to increase your limit, it keeps you from having that inquiry hit your credit score. So increasing the credit limit is a pretty quick way to actually improve your credit score, because that way, like I said before, part of what they look at is your balance and your payment history. If they're increasing your limit, that means you've got a good payment history with that lender. But now all of a sudden your amount used goes down pretty quickly, so that'll bump your FICO score up. So generally, it's better to have your current credit card company increase your limit for you rather than go put another application in, unless you're looking to use the card for something else. You know, like Heather shared, there were different reasons to use the cards. If you're looking for a card just to have for emergency, then it makes more sense to have that separate card application rather than just increase the limit on the one that you use every day. So it just depends on the usage.
Okay. After paying off a large balance, how long should I wait before using it again?
So for the credit card, the general rule of thumb is try to use it every month for something small if you can. And like I said, you can use it to put gas in your car. You can use it to buy a soda at 7-Eleven or a drink at Starbucks, something that's a small balance, because on the credit file, there's something called the date of last activity that every time you use the card and then pay it off, that updates. That date of last activity must be current, because if it's more than 6 months, then it keeps it from impacting your FICO score. So if you pay the large balance off, it's okay to use it the next month for something small and then just pay it in full. That way it avoids any interest accruing.
Thank you. I did not know that. How many credit cards should you own?
That depends on what you can handle. I mean, you know, if you have 5 credit cards with a $10,000 balance and they're maxed out all the time, then clearly that's more than what you should be doing. You know, each person, it's a different rule of thumb, unfortunately. Just what I would recommend is that you, like we said, do the research in advance and get what you need. Having a bunch of credit cards isn't going to help your credit history per se. It's just going to show that you have more room to get in trouble down the road if you start maxing things out.
Thank you, Amy. Heather, I think I have a few questions for you. And it's specifically about business cards. Are there any special cards for businesses?
Yes, actually, we have a Visa Platinum business card, and we also have a Visa Platinum consolidated card too, and I'll go into the rewards cards in just a minute. If you have a business where you want to have a larger line of credit, but you want your employees to have a credit card of their own with a piece of that credit limit, you can do that too, and we call it a consolidated credit card, again, kind of getting those credit cards out into the hands of your employees. We also have that same program with our Now Rewards card. So if you as a business Want to earn points on what your employees spend month over month? You can do that too with our Now Rewards Consolidated card and our Now Rewards Business card. Absolutely.
Do you have a balance transfer with no charge?
We don't have one right now, but we do have balance transfer promotions all the time. So keep a lookout for those promotions either through our website or through email, but they do pop up and we'll really have some great ones going on throughout the year.
And I think this is a follow-up question on the previous. Is any promotions right now on credit cards?
We don't have any specific promotions like a balance transfer promotion right now, but we do have the Premier Points program. So if you have a Now Rewards card now and you do have like a checking account and direct deposit with us in the loans, you probably already qualify. And if you do, we try to notify to let you know, hey, you qualify for Premier Points, and that gives you that 2 times the points and more of that cash and rewards back in your pocket. But again, keep an eye out. We have campaigns all throughout the year, and we should have some coming up later on in the year.
Thank you, Heather. This is a very specific question about the first card. It says, what is the income required for the first card?
So it really depends on the cardholder. So when loan officers look at an application, they look at something called the debt to income ratio. So it depends on how much your income is and how much debt you have. And so they take those 2 components, put them together. And what they want to do is make sure that you have enough, the ability to pay. So based on the responsibilities you already have with other lenders or Northwest, and the income you have coming in every month, we want to make sure we put you in a good position to be able to pay that credit card every month.
Thank you. Heather, one more time, once again, this circles back to part of the presentation, but somebody's asking to repeat about the deposit or limit for the secured card.
Sure. So with the first card, you can have as low of a credit limit as $250. Up to $1,000 if you're over 18 years old. But a way to secure that card, you can put as little as $250 in your savings account, put that on hold. And what that does, if you're not sure if you would be approved, you don't have to go through the full approval process. They're not pulling credit on you at that point because you're already securing that credit card with the funds in your account. But we do report that card every month to the credit bureau, so it gives you a great opportunity to build credit and to increase your credit score without having a great score to start with or no score to start with if you're starting out new credit. We can also do the same thing with our Visa Platinum cards as well as our Now Rewards card, just one that's a little bit higher. It's $500 minimum for a shared secure card.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
I have 3 more questions so far that we have received. And Amy, if you can help us with this. I was told I should keep my usage below 10% to get the maximum points. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure how that works with the points, but as far as FICO score, it depends on the lender. Like Heather said, they look at your debt to income ratio. So if it's a conservative lender, then 10% is maybe what they're going with. Most lenders that I work with say 30% is more common. Some will go as far as 50. The key is to just show that you can use the card responsibly and to pay as much as you can each month. Because if your card's constantly maxed out, then it's going to have a huge negative impact. If you keep the balance relatively low, whether it's 30% or less, 10% or less, that's going to show as what they call a positive trade line, and it'll have a positive effect on your FICO score.
Thank you. If you don't use a credit card in a while, would it automatically be canceled?
That depends on the lender who issued the card. Some companies, they do a periodic review, and if they have the card out there and you're not using it, then to protect them and protect you, sometimes they'll cancel the card so that way it doesn't get because of fraud out there these days. So sometimes it will get shut down. So that's something I would check with the different companies that issue the card, so and see what their policy is.
Thank you. And I think you covered this, but somebody's interested in learning a little bit more about how often should they use a credit card at a minimum.
The minimum would be once every 6 months. One of the things FICO will do, if FICO won't issue a score, if you have to have at least one account on your credit file that's been used in the last 6 months, that's been updated. So if you pay most of your bills off and you don't use your credit cards at all, then when you go to apply for something, a year down the road, FICO won't score you. So if you use that credit card at least once every 6 months, then it'll ensure you're within that 6-month time frame to have the impact on your FICO score.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We have one last question, and it's somebody is interested in learning whether we have branches in Maryland. And the answer is yes. We did open our Rockville branch on Rockville Pike. So if you're in the Maryland area, feel free to stop by the branch. Christian Mendez is the branch manager there, and we are open in receiving a walk-in members to do their transactions. I think that is the end of the questions. Let me double check just to see if somebody else. Well, I think I don't have any more questions. I do want to thank everybody who attended our webinar. If you are an employee or a company partner, please feel free to reach out to us to request any type of content that you would like us to be able to present to your employees. But if you're a member, you would like to learn more about us or any type of financial knowledge, we do have a program with a third-party vendor called Coffee, Knowledge of Financial Education. It has several different webinars, presentations, and content, very helpful to understand better how credit works and how to build credit. I apologize. I did receive the last question, Amy, and it is referring to a loan itself. This is, would a late payment on a credit union loan take 7 years to fall off your credit report?
Yes, so the general rule of thumb is that good information or positive trade lines where you pay everything on time, those stay on your credit file for 10 years from the date of last activity. Negative information stays on for 7 years from the date of first delinquency. So if you miss a payment 7 years later, that negative information will come off your credit file. But if you start paying it on time, it'll show that positive, and it won't be permanently negative even during the full 7 years, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much, Amy, and everybody else for attending our webinar. This concludes our presentation. If you do have any additional questions or would like to reach us on our one-on-one basis, feel free to email us. You can use our group email, which is yourcreditunion@nwfcu, to send us your questions or requests, and or directly to myself or anybody within my team on the Select Employee Group. I want to thank you again, Amy and Heather, for being able to share this valuable information for ourselves and our member base. And have a great day.